When Star Trek Discovery, better known as STD, sullied our TV and computer screens last year, there was only one narrative being pushed. We were told that this was a victory for diversity, like the Star Trek franchise had suddenly come to an epiphany. This forced diversity was embodied in the character of Michael Burnham, the main focus of a franchise that had always been centered on ensemble casts. We were told that we needed to accept this character based solely on her demographic representation. We were told that she didn't need to earn our respect. We were expected to give her unconditional respect because reasons. We didn't buy it. This character was detestable, and many of us could see right through the rhetoric. The intrusion of identity politics into this once great franchise didn't do it any favors. Not only was its central character deplorable, the show was just bad and could not have been further from Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future. It was unnecessarily dark and depressing, both visually and thematically. The background ensemble characters were almost just as unlikable as Burnham, bar the one exception of Doug Jones as Saru. Identity politics were used as an instrument to hide the many problems with STD, perhaps culminating in the current lawsuit for copyright infringement. Michael Burnham was depicted as the epitome of inclusion, like Star Trek had never done such a thing before. I guess we all just imagined Uhura and Sulu back in the 1960s. Star Trek has always embraced diversity, but two characters, more than anything, make STD's social justice feminist propaganda fall apart. Captain Benjamin Sisko and Captain Catherine Janeway. We're going to start with Captain Sisko, played to perfection by Avery Brooks, and who is also my favorite Star Trek captain. The World Wide Web wasn't a thing in 1992. So this is purely anecdotal, but I'm sure many other people can identify with this. When DS9 was first announced back in 1992, my main concern was how Star Trek would work in a space station setting. When Brooks was announced as the actor that would portray Sisko, the fact that he wasn't a white male never crossed my mind. I was just hoping that he would measure up to my two heroes, Kirk and Picard, and boy did he ever. Brooks exceeded all my expectations in this role, and his race was barely ever mentioned. DS9 was focused on good stories, not identity politics. Sisko also had more character development than any other character in Star Trek history. We saw a character transform from one person to an entirely different person over a 7-year period. The internet came into public prominence during DS9's run, and having been a frequenter of Star Trek forums in the late 90s, I can't recall a single instance where Sisko's race was ever mentioned as a problem. Sisko was a character that earned our respect, and when race did become an issue, it was impactful, and we felt for the character. Take a look at Far Beyond the Stars, one of the best episodes in the entire Star Trek canon. This was from DS9's 6th season and was broadcast in February 1998. This was one of those change of pace episodes. Sisko was thinking of leaving Starfleet after the death of a close friend in the Dominion War. As the episode progresses, Sisko is overtaken by a vision and becomes Benny Russell, an African-American science fiction writer in New York in the 1950s. Throughout the episode, we learn about prejudice, and Brooks delivers probably the best performance of his career, and the episode ends on a positive, hopeful note. Nobody was saying, "Oh, look what DS9 is shoveling down our throats this week." Everyone, including myself, was saying, "What an amazing episode." Again, this was because this character had earned our respect, and Star Trek used to present issues as they were, and did not include them merely to lecture to us. I've recently started rewatching many of the television shows I enjoyed back in the 90s, and the contrast between what we were presented back then and what we are being presented now could not be more different. A balanced approach to things. What a novel idea. Now let's go to our second example, Captain Catherine Janeway, played by the brilliant Kate Mulgrew. Full disclosure, I've mentioned this over the years, that until we were inflicted with STD, Voyager was my least favorite of the first 5 live-action series. I'm not saying it's terrible, or that I hate it, but for me, it never really found its footing. This is, of course, my opinion, and should not be taken as fact. Enterprise was originally at the bottom of this list, but the show finally found its footing, and then it was cancelled. Thanks, Moonves. Karma's a bitch. But my issues with Voyager never extended to Janeway. The World Wide Web was in its infancy, and to the best of my knowledge, Voyager had the first official website based on a TV show. There was some who expressed concern that a woman had been cast in the lead role, but this was a very small minority. My main concern, as it was with DS9, was, will this character be able to live up to my now 3 heroes? Kirk, Picard, and Sisko. And again, I wasn't disappointed. As with Sisko, Janeway exceeded my expectations. For people saying that we didn't have any strong female characters before soulless characters like Rey came onto the scene, then I suggest you look at Voyager and Captain Janeway, a show that premiered in January 1995. Janeway's gender never became a significant issue within the narrative of the show or within Star Trek fandom. The conception of Janeway's character and Mulgrew's outstanding portrayal meant that Janeway had earned our respect. She proved to us that she was indeed the equal of her three male counterparts. One of the most endearing qualities of Janeway is, unlike many current female heroes, she never diminished or talked down to or insulted male characters. She never viewed them as lesser or accused them of epitomizing toxic masculinity. I would also like to reference Janeway's relationship with Mark Johnson, her fiancé introduced in The Caretaker. She always spoke lovingly of Mark, and you could feel her devastation when they were separated after Voyager was lost. Mark, equally devastated, eventually moved on and married someone else, thinking Janeway and Voyager were lost forever. When Janeway learned of this several years later, although obviously destroyed by the news, never blamed Mark. I can't see a story like this playing out quite this way on modern television, at least not without some disparagement of the male character. Janeway treated everyone with respect, unless you turned out to be that week's villain. Then God help you. She commanded authority and fan respect, because, again like Sisko, she earned it. We didn't judge Janeway based on her gender. We judged her on her character. I didn't even think about Janeway's gender after the first few episodes. She wasn't a female captain. She was just a captain, and a damn good one. These two characters, from more than 2 decades ago, completely derail not only STD's narrative, but many other current science fiction properties. I doubt that most current writers on STD possess more than just a passing familiarity with these characters. Star Trek and its fans embraced real diversity a very long time ago. Not forced diversity, but diversity where actors and characters were judged based on their own merits, and not because of their gender or race. The media had the gall to call us racists and sexists because we refused to accept Michael Burnham. We don't dislike her because of her demographic representation. We dislike her because she's a horrible character. She is not the equal of Sisko or Janeway, not even close. And that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Twitter. And as always, everyone, thank you for watching, and have a great day.